Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Nancy Langston. Welcome to another elemental dreaming event. This one is dreaming with elemental water and Ix Chel, the goddess Ix Chel. Dreaming with water can be a bit abstract. That's why I wanted to bring Ix Chel. That's Ixchel, the Mayan goddess, into this event as well. Ix Chel is associated with water. She's very elemental herself, but it's a little more personable to do it with a goddess. You could think of goddesses as literally a large divine energy or person, being, not person, a divine being that's watching over us. You can also think of them as an archetype, a kind of energy that the indigenous people, pre-Christian people, were trying to explain the world, explain the natural world through creating this goddess. And Ix Chel is all about water, so that's why I wanted to bring her into this session today. And before I open the directions, let's talk a little bit about Ix Chel. She actually is very primordial, very ancient. She was worshipped, still is worshipped, all over the Americas. That's, Mexico, Central America, even into northern South America for a time. Some anthropologists believe she's also the goddess O, which is one of the oldest, most ancient goddesses in the Codex and in the Mayan tradition. She is said to have birthed 4 sons with the sun god, the all-powerful sun god. And those sons were powerful jaguar gods, and they were named for the 4 directions, and they are said to hold up the world. They hold up the corners of the world. So that's how primordial and ancient and important she is. She actually birthed the energies that hold up our world in the 4 directions. She's often depicted as a water bearer. I want to show you a couple images. Let me stop my video for a minute. This is an image of her as the water bearer. This is the crone image. She actually she's depicted in 3 different versions. Like the triple goddesses of Europe, she's depicted as a maiden sometimes, very young, very beautiful, and then as a mother, and then as the crone, and this is the crone. She's very often seen as a water bearer. She's pouring blessings of water out onto the world and helping the crops to grow here. Okay, let me show you a young version of her. This is her as a young maiden, or I guess suppose she could be a mother. She's pictured here with the serpent on her head again, but she also has the rabbit with her, and she's often associated with the rabbit. And we'll talk about that again in a minute. And also with the moon. She's a moon goddess. But that goes with being a water goddess, right? Because the moon controls our tides and has a huge pull on the ocean. So she's definitely all watery. So she has this womb jug. She's said to pour her blessings of water onto the world. You have to remember, in the Mayan geography, the areas where the Mayans were and are still living, it was very dry, and water was very important, and they needed the rains to come. It wasn't like they could guarantee that it was going to be a great year for rain, so they would pray to the Mayan goddess Ix Chel for rain. And when it did rain, she was said to be pouring her jug of water onto their world, onto their crops, and blessing them. She's also considered to be a master healer, and they called her the midwife of what is to come. So not just the midwife of babies, which she is associated with birth, women birthing and bringing babies into the world, but the midwife of everything that is to come, birthing everything in the world. So she's definitely, an all-encompassing goddess that's helping the world to birth itself over and over again. She's associated in that sense with all the rhythms and cycles and tides, the seasons of our earth, and also the rhythms and cycles of the moon. Like I said, she's a moon goddess, and she's her 3 aspects. The maiden is the new moon, The mother is the full moon, and the crone is the waning, almost dark moon. So just like in the European cultures, this is a triple goddess, and she shows up in 3 different aspects. Now, the tie to the rabbit. Rabbits are a symbol of fertility, but they're also, the Mayans saw an image of the rabbit in the moon. They didn't see a man in the moon. They saw a rabbit. So next time you see a full moon, you might check and see if you can see the rabbit. But they associated that with Ix Chel, the moon and the rabbit in the moon. All right, let me look at my notes here, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So she wears a serpent, right? And the snake or the serpent was associated with powerful earthy magic, the magic of Mother Earth. And she's also associated with the jaguar. She did birth the 4 jaguar god sons. And the jaguar holds, for the Mayans, is a very powerful, holds the wisdom of the jungle and the power of the jungle. So she's got all that as well, that wisdom and power. So we're going to journey to her and ask her about water and ask her to give us a lesson or a teaching. And I have several questions you could ask. You could just ask her to share whatever should be most helpful to you today. Whatever is most helpful for you today at this time. She could share that with you. You could ask her for a healing. She is a master healer. Many times when I will journey to her, she does. At least part of the session, the journey is a healing. So you could ask her for that. You could ask her for a teaching about water. Specifically, teach me something about the water of the earth, the water element, and the way it works on earth. You could also ask her for a teaching about cycles and rhythms of life and death, because she's in all of that. She's a primary goddess, a master goddess, and she understands rhythms and cycles. So that's another thing you could ask. You could also just share insight about jaguar medicine or jaguar wisdom with you. And you may have personal questions you want to ask her. When you go into the journey, of course, you can always ask more than one question. So you may have your own questions, and that's totally cool. I just wanted to give you some suggestions. And if any of those appeal to you, you might write them down or hold them in your mind for when we start the journey in a few minutes. But before we start, let me open the directions. I'm going to turn off my video because I stand up. But let's open the directions and create a container for our journey. And you can join me as well if you want to turn and face each direction, if you know which direction. We're going to start in the north. I call on the north and the energy of winter, dark of midnight, the all potential that's held in the dark. And I call on the east and the energy of sunrise and spring and new beginnings. Rebirth. I call on the south and the energy of abundant growth and high noon sun and summer. I call on the west and the energy of autumn, sunset, and letting go, releasing, dying away. I call on the above and the below. Heaven and earth, Papa Sky and Mama Earth, the yang and the yin. And from this container, I call on my spirit allies, guides, and guardians, and I ask that you call in yours as well. Calling in my spirit allies, guides, and guardians, I ask you to be with us, guide us, and teach us what we need to learn today, or what would be best for us to learn. And we'd also like to thank you for everything you've done for us, everything you've done for us, past, present, and future. We thank you for being with us and guiding us and holding us and loving us and protecting us. And I would also like to call on Ix Chel. Ask her to join us. And the elements of earth, air, fire, and water. particularly water. We'd ask water element and the elementals that work with water to be with us and guide us as appropriate today. And the totems of Ix Chel herself, the snake, the jaguar, and the rabbit. We ask them to be with us as appropriate today and guide us. All right. Now I'm going to drum you in to Journey Space today, and I want to show you the drum because it's my moon drum in honor of Ix Chel. So we're going to use the moon drum to go into Journey Space. If you've never done this before, I'm going to guide you in. If you've never done this before, you may be wondering how the heck this could possibly work. Rapid rattling or drumming, that sonic sound, changes our brain waves and drops us into a slower brainwave state, and we can drop into alpha state and maybe even high theta, and that's a state of that's dreaming. That's the state where we dream at night. So we can consciously go into a dream state by using the drum or the rattle. There are other ways of doing it. Obviously, there are herbal ways of doing it. Sufis actually do it by dancing, by twirling. So, but the drum is one of the easiest ways and my favorite, so we're going to use that today. All right, so ideally you'll get comfortable. You can either be sitting or lying down. You can look at Ix Chel there with the serpent on her head and pouring the water of blessings, the blessings of water out on the world to get motivated here. So you can be sitting or lying down. Ideally, ironically, or paradoxically, it helps to be grounded first. So I'm going to have you take a couple deep breaths. Get rid of all distractions. You may want to grab a pen and paper for afterwards, real quickly, because it would help to take notes afterwards, after the dream, to take notes about what happened. But then just sit or lie down, take some breaths, and feel the floor, the earth under your seat or your back. And just breathe and notice the air going in and out of your lungs. And call in your spirit allies, guides and guardians, angels, whoever you work with if you haven't already. And let's begin. We're just breathing and listening to the drum for a moment. And imagine you can get up out of your body and walk or move out of the room you're in and out of the building you're in. And you head outside, out of the building. And there's a mist, a fog over the land. It looks very different, all misty and foggy. But you see a path in front of you, and we're going to take that path. And you're going to think about what you want to ask Ix Chel, about yourself, about water, about healing, about her wisdom. We're going to take that path. You're going to call out to your spirit allies, guides and guardians. If they haven't joined you already, call them and ask them to join you. Call to Ix Chel and her animal totems, the snake, the jaguar, the rabbit, and ask them to join you. And we head down that path. And it's very foggy. It's hard to see anything. Go up a little hill. And up ahead, the mist starts to clear, and you see a beach. You see the ocean, and you can hear the waves. It's a gentle surf. Just the rising and falling, the swell of the ocean is making a little sound, and you head towards that beach, and you find a comfortable place to sit down. And you call to your guides, Ix Chel and her animal totems. And you ask your question or questions, and you follow their lead. They may take you somewhere else, they may keep you here on the beach, but you follow their lead. And I will call you back by changing the drum beat in about 10 minutes. right, it's time to return. Thank your guides. Thank Ix Chel, whatever form she showed up. Thank her totems or animal totems, if they showed up for you. Return. Off the beach, back down the path, over the hill, through the mist, all the way back into the building where you started, into the room, all the way into your body, all the way back. Open your eyes, stretch your arms, your legs, wiggle your toes, take some deep breaths. And I'm going to give you a few minutes to take notes. What happened in the dream will fade fast, so please take a few notes. I always like to say I've had dreams or journeys that didn't make sense for months, and then luckily I had notes, because later on I'll get some hit and it's like, oh, I can go back and read the journey and it makes total sense at that point in the future. So take some notes. They don't have to be laborious, but what did you see? What did you feel? Did you smell or taste anything? What sensations did you have in your body? What kind of emotions came up for you? And I'm going to mute myself and give you just a minute to take notes, and then we can talk a little bit more about Ix Chel. Okay, go ahead and finish your notes if you haven't already. I just want to mention a couple things about Ix Chel that I didn't mention before. She's associated, we called her the midwife of all that is to come, and that includes midwife to babies. There was an island, there still is an island called Cozumel in the Yucatan, close to Cancun. It's off the coast of Cancun, Mexico. And it was called the Island of Women. Women would go there to learn about the feminine mysteries, the mysteries of their moon cycle, their menstrual cycle, the mysteries of childbirth and herbs they could use in childbirth and pregnancy. And I think there were even some women with difficult pregnancies giving birth there, but there was a temple to Ix Chel there. Ix Chel was their goddess, the goddess of the women on the Island of Women, surrounded by water, of course, because she's a watery goddess and a moon goddess. So if you ever get the chance, I actually saw the island of Cozumel. I went there diving years ago, long before I was consciously doing goddess, any kind of goddess research or work, journeying. And it's mostly dive shops and resorts now, but you can take tours into the interior and see what's left of the temple there to Ix Chel. So if you're interested in that. And Rosita Arvigo, who's a healer, she's in her 70s or 80s now, so she's not teaching a lot. She taught for years. She taught Mayan abdominal massage, and she studied with several different Mayan healers, masters in Mexico and Central America. She's got several books about Cozumel and imagining what the island of women was like, so you might look for those. Her last name is Arvigo, Arvigo. But she's got a whole bunch of people she's trained that are offering Mayan abdominal massage, which is amazing form of massage for female issues in the pelvis, all kinds of issues, from horrible periods to infertility, to polycystic ovarian syndrome. That massage is amazing for those things. So you might check that out. All right, I'm going to stop my video for just a second, close the directions, and I want to thank you for joining me. There's lots of information about Ix Chel online if you're interested. If you have questions, you can always contact me through my website, nancylangston.com, or on Facebook or Instagram. So I'd be happy to answer questions if you've got any about water, elemental water, the moon, Ix Chel, any of that. So don't hesitate to contact me. All right, we thank the North. We thank the North. Thank you so much for holding us and guiding us and supporting us today. We thank the East. Thank you so much for holding us, guiding us, and supporting us today. We are so grateful. We thank the South. Thank you so much for holding us, guiding us, and supporting us today. We thank the West. Thank you so much for guiding us, holding us, and supporting us today. We are so grateful. We thank the above and the below, heaven and earth, the yang and the yin, the sacred masculine and sacred feminine, Papa Sky, Mama Earth. By whatever name we call you, we thank you for holding us, guiding us, and supporting us. We thank elemental earth, air, fire, and water for joining us. We thank Ix Chel and her animal totems. We thank our spirit allies, guides, and guardians for being with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so grateful. All right, that's all I have today. I hope you enjoyed this. And again, if you have questions, please reach out to me, nancylangston.com, or look for me on Facebook. And I hope you had fun.